And welcome in. We are joined by Missouri House Representative Adam Schnelting. He is out of the 104th District out of St. Charles County, and he joins us today here on YHC to talk about the significant legislation that is heading to the governor's desk in Jefferson City at the Capitol, House Bill 126. I know it's making a lot of noise out there and the national headlines among other states that has got a legislation out there as well. But we're bringing in one of the sponsors of the bill in the Capitol. We've got Adam Schnelting, again of the 104th District out of St. Charles County. And Adam, we appreciate your time today. I know it's busy up there at the Capitol. I know you've had some overnight sessions up there, but we appreciate the time you've carved out for us to talk to our viewers about this bill.
Absolutely. Thank you for having me, Tyler. I appreciate it.
Sure.
Good to be with you.
Yes, and let's talk about this bill. I know there's a lot of bills out there among other states we'll get to and how they differentiate in a moment, but we wanted to bring you in because you're one of the original sponsors. You can tell us the backstory of the bill, what it actually entails, and what's actually going to the governor's desk to be signed to become law. So we wanted to go straight to the horse's mouth, if you will, about what this bill is and what it means for Missourians. So basically give us just a brief overview of House Bill 126.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, it's an exciting day in Missouri history because our legislature just sent the governor, as you said, one of the boldest, most comprehensive pro-life pieces of legislation in our history. So it is a great day. In House Bill 126, what House Bill 126 does is it does about 8 things. It expands the Pregnancy Resource Center's tax credit. So more money are going to go to alternatives to abortion and women's health care for those in need. It includes a trigger amendment. So if Roe v. Wade is overturned, whether in whole or whether in whole or in part, abortion will be banned in the state of Missouri with the exception of medical emergency. It also includes a prohibition on discriminatory abortions. So for instance, if there is a prenatal test and it's indicated that there's Down syndrome, for instance, well, it prohibits that. I will get to the heartbeat portion in just a moment because I would imagine, Tyler, that's where you'll have some of your questions. But we also have an information materials given to those who are recommended to leave the state for an abortion. What this does is it requires a referring physician to give those materials to that patient who would want to leave the state for an abortion. On those materials, as you know, in the state of Missouri, it provides or shows alternatives to abortion. The bill also includes a late-term pain-capable unborn child protection act because we know they can feel pain in the womb. So at 20 weeks gestation, that means there's a ban on abortion at that point. It also ups the medical malpractice insurance limits. So it goes to $1 million per occurrence for the doctor, and they're also now required to have $3 million in the aggregate. But as far as the heartbeat and the brain function, the bill is a heartbeat and the brain function bill. What we've done is at 8 weeks, the ban kicks in. So once a brainwave can be detected, or once a heartbeat can be detected, the abortion is banned at 8 weeks. Now there's a tier system. So if the courts decide they disagree with the Missouri Legislature, that goes up to 14 weeks or 18 weeks or 20 weeks and so on. That's the gist of the bill in a 3-minute time slot.
Sure. It's pretty layered legislation there as the points that you laid out, but probably the most significant portion of the legislation is basically what restrictions there are on a timeline to have an abortion. So basically, you all have published the legislation to 8 weeks? 8 weeks from the start of the pregnancy, right?
Correct. Yeah. So the ban is at 8 weeks, and then we've tiered it to go up to 14 weeks, and then to 18 weeks, and then to 20 weeks. What that does essentially, Tyler, is it throws the ball back into the courts, back to the courts. If they disagree with us, and when we believe life begins, then we're essentially telling them they need to make the decision then. Because if you recall in Roe v. Wade, they essentially stated that it was not their job to determine when life began. Well, if that is the case, in our legislative findings in the bill. And that's another thing that we should actually probably mention. The legislative findings in the bill are actually a very interesting aspect. We've included everything from scientific research and findings to international law and treaty in the legislative findings. So we're sending, we put a bill out through the legislature, sending a bill to the governor that is very comprehensive, and should it end up in the courts, it's going to give a lot of material to the courts for them to make their decision, which hitherto I'm not sure very many states have actually done.
Okay. And Adam, let's talk about the kind of the backstory of the legislation, because legislation this significant doesn't happen in just one session. This has been in the works for quite some time, basically trying to find the research, just the medical research is out there, also having to craft it into legislation in a legal standpoint that is going to possibly get challenged from the courts at some point potentially. So tell us about the backstory, how this legislation got proposed and now passed.
Certainly. Right after the elections, there were several of us representatives who were working on pro-life bills. We pre-filed most of them. But when we got to the Capitol, two of us are freshmen, we realized fairly quickly that this issue was going to be a challenge to get through the Senate. So what we had to do is we had to make a decision to say, in order for us to summon, I'll be right, forgive me. So in order for us to make a decision, we had to come to make a decision and say, okay, in order for this to get through the Senate, we're going to have only one PQ rather than 2 or 3, for instance. So Representative Schroer from St. Charles County, Representative Coleman from Mary Elizabeth Coleman from Jefferson County, and myself sat down. We put the legislative findings together, and we discussed what was going to be in the legislation, and that's really how it came about. And then, of course, we added some additional amendments on the House floor. So it was really a very, very interesting day when we were able to get that passed. It was a great day in the legislature that day.
Sure. This is a very significant legislation that y'all have passed. And as you mentioned, you can't put legislation that's, dealing with abortion. Of course, the Roe v. Wade decision, it's really touchy, what you could put in a bill to, sure, you could pass any bill, but is it worth your time and actually wanting the outcome that you want in legislation if it's just going to get shut down by the courts? So you spoke to that briefly, but maybe elaborate more on how you go about legislation to withstand potential basically shutdown from the courts in the legislation.
Sure. Well, one of the things that many states have not done is, let me talk about what they have. What many of the states have done is they have essentially directly challenged Roe v. Wade head on. But we know from past experience, from court precedent, that those laws get shot down. So what we did is we sat down and said, we're going to need a bill that includes legislative findings, both scientific, even some international law and treaty. We need one that is going to have this information in it, in addition to that tiered system that we discussed a moment ago. Furthermore, adding the severability clauses as well, so that we can protect every piece of the bill. We needed to send a comprehensive package so that the courts can actually have information at their disposal, so they can read through this, so they can make their decision, versus just sending a bill that is just an outright affront to the decision of the courts in prior years. So we feel, and we're confident, that this is a good, comprehensive enough piece of legislation that we're confident that it's going to save countless lives.
Okay. I've been reading a lot of things going into this bill, and basically the industry and just the practice of abortion in Missouri, and it's really declined over the last decade or so to where I can't remember the exact number. There was maybe 20,000 a year down to maybe just a few thousand a year. Maybe you can fill us in on that.
I'm sorry, the phone cut out. Tyler, can you repeat that?
Yeah, I was speaking to basically the abortion, I guess you would say, industry over the last decade. It's really declined in a substantial way.
Yes.
There's gone from 20,000 just maybe a decade or two ago to now just a few thousand.
Yes, that's correct. So we used to have, I want to say it was 6 or 7 clinics that performed abortion clinics in the state of Missouri. We have gone down to 1. In addition to going down to that 1, we used to have about 20,000 abortions. Now I want to say it's closer to roughly 4,000, if I recall the overall number. So it's gone down significantly over the years, especially with the help of like Missouri Right to Life and other life agencies, and with the Catholic, I believe it's Catholic Charities, or the Catholic Conference rather, Fighting for Life, the Missouri Baptist Association Fighting for Life. So it's really gone down significantly over the years with all with the implementation of some of these laws. And furthermore, I will also add it's gone down due to the fact that we know now a lot more than we used to know, Tyler. So now you have an ultrasound. Now you can see that baby. Now you can see that heart, or you can hear that heartbeat. And that's changed a lot of minds.
Sure. Yeah, that can be a significant part of the whole process. Adam, how about you tell us about how this differentiates between some other bills that are out there? I know there's 3 or 4 other states. I know Georgia comes to mind, Alabama. I think Ohio's there in the mix about passing legislation that's similar but not entirely the same. So maybe give us a differentiation, because I know a lot of people get their news from the national networks that see different states passing these bills. And I know it could be confusing, and maybe they all just sound the same, or some networks might lump them all in as the same thing. So maybe try to differentiate what people may hear from different states and how Missouri just differentiates between those other states.
Sure. Well, for one, I would say some of the legislative findings by us, including some of the international law, is certainly a unique aspect. I think one of the states, I believe Arkansas, if I recall correctly, had included that. Senator Jason Rayburg out of Arkansas. I don't know. I think he's down in your neck of the woods, or maybe he's on the western side of the state. But he proposed similar legislation. I think there were certainly differences between the two bills, but he proposed legislation a while back, and I believe it got that passed. As far as Ohio is concerned, I'm not exactly sure everything that they have in Ohio. We didn't actually take a look at Ohio's as a model piece. So we didn't actually, look at that one as deeply as some of these other states. But the main difference is the legislative findings, which many of the states do not have, and furthermore, the penalty provisions. So our bill does not criminalize abortion for the mother. So there are no penalty provisions in there for a mother who is seeking to obtain an abortion. The point is to save lives. That's why we have alternatives to abortion, the program here in the state. And in addition to that, I think in Alabama's law they give the doctors or life in prison. So we don't have that provision. Ours is in keeping with Chapter 188 in the state of Missouri, which is a Class B felony. Okay. So those are some of the major differences, along with the tiered system that we discussed. Not all of the bills have that. Okay. So we are working. We have one of the most comprehensive bills in the country, but we're also very happy to see these other states stepping up to the plate as well, doing similar work to protect the innocent. And rather than us seeing ourselves competing with them, we believe we're all working towards the same goal.
Sure. And like you said, we've got 4 or 5 different states right now, and there may be more to come that have passed legislation around abortion and the limitations about the practice. And I know there's going to be some judicial fights. There's going to be the courts. I know the ACLU's come out and said they're going to be challenging the Alabama law, which is actually probably the farthest reaching, where you said where they, there's further penalties as well as I think an outright pretty much ban. I think they go beyond the heartbeat and further just to a ban of the practice itself. So that's probably going to be the biggest fight in the courts. But I think what you talk about, what y'all have done is y'all have tiered it to where if the courts strike down a certain portion of it, there's kind of a next there's that next layer that's already in place in the legislation that would be in place. So it seems like y'all have really put a lot of time into this to kind of layer it to where if the courts get involved at some point, whether it's here or even if it goes to the Supreme Court, U.S. Supreme Court, to where the law is just not going to get stricken out altogether.
Yeah, absolutely, Tyler. That is one of the biggest differences between the way we put our bill together and the way we've seen some of these bills presently, but also in the past, put together in other states. Our goal is to save lives, and that meant that we needed to work harder and longer on this bill. It meant that we needed to make it more comprehensive by adding the tiered system, the severability clauses, and the scientific or the legislative findings. We believe that it will withstand the judicial scrutiny. Okay.
So I think we pretty much touched on everything we could about the bill. I know it's probably, there's more details in there, but I think we kind of touched on the major points of the bill, the most significant portions of it, to where people can make up their mind if they support it, oppose it, or just basically want to learn more about it. That's what we want to do here with you, Representative Schnelting, about just basically informing the people. I know legislation such as this, it gets a lot of headlines, and there can be narratives out there that's, false one way, false another. We just want to try to bring it to the people as is, the legislation as it is and as it stands, and going to Governor Parsons' desk to be signed so people know what they're dealing with and what's going to be the law of the land here pretty soon. So anything else you'd like to emphasize about the bill, or just anything out of the Capitol right now that's happening that our viewers might be interested to know?
I would say I know the governor supports the legislation wholeheartedly and is just waiting to sign it. That said, there are a lot of groups that are going to put a lot and have been putting a lot of pressure on our legislature, and so I know they're also going to put it on the governor. So I would just say, for all of those listening in the boot heel, let's not only lift the governor up in prayers, but let's also encourage his office to stay the course, and which I absolutely believe it will. But let's encourage him as well, because we know that he's getting hate mail. We've received members of the legislature. Many of us have already received threats, regarding our wives and children. So that kind of thing doesn't belong in the state of Missouri. Yet it goes on. So I think a little encouragement can go a long way. And just be encouraging to the governor and the first lady. So I would encourage all your listeners to perhaps reach out to his office and thank him for his impending signature on the bill.
Okay, so there you go. Appreciate Representative Schnelting you joining us. I know it's busy up there at the Capitol. I know y'all went deep into the night, I guess you would say early morning, on this legislation. And sometimes the legislature gets that way when you got certainly legislation as significant as this. But we appreciate your time and spending with us to inform our viewers. I know we just want to take this time to inform the viewers just what's out there. I know there's going to be a lot of headlines out there, and people won't really get into the details, but that's what we wanted to bring to everybody today, the details and just what is in the bill for people to know. So that's what we wanted to do here. So Representative Schnelting, we appreciate your time again, and we welcome you back to give us any kind of follow-ups on the bill that might be coming down the line. And again, we appreciate your time spending with us.
Absolutely, Tyler. I'm honored to be a part of the program, and say hello to your family. Late congratulations on the birth of your child.
Oh yeah,
that's what
we go now. Yeah,
so thank you for having me.
Yeah. All right. Well, again, thank you, Representative Schnelting. Again, Representative Adam Schnelting, out of the 104th District, out of St. Charles County, up in the St. Louis area. And again, we appreciate his time.